In the dust-choked towns of the wild frontier, legends weren't born, they were forged in blood and gunpowder. And in this unforgiving land, one name was whispered with more fear than any other: Silas the Shadow Cain. He wasn't just a killer, he was a force of nature, a phantom who moved through the West, leaving only silence and stories in his wake. They said he could draw his Colt before a man could even blink, that he never missed, and that he only killed when the price was right or the provocation was severe. Silas Cain wasn't your typical gunslinger. He didn't boast, he didn't drink in loud saloons, and he certainly didn't seek fame. He was a quiet man, his face a mask of cold indifference, his eyes holding the chilling emptiness of 1,000 lonely campfires. He moved from town to town, a ghost on a pale horse, his only companions the twin revolvers holstered at his hips. His reputation preceded him, a chilling aura that made even the most hardened outlaws cross the street to avoid his path. For Silas, killing was a job, a grim transaction devoid of emotion or pleasure. He was the final word in any argument, the period at the end of a life sentence. But the West was also home to a different breed of man, the loud, the arrogant, the foolish. And none were louder or more foolish than Black Bart Hogan. Bart was everything Silas was not. He was a brute of a man with a booming laugh that echoed through every saloon he entered. He led a gang of cutthroats who terrorized small towns, their notoriety built on bullying the weak and robbing the defenseless. Black Bart loved the sound of his own name, believing his own inflated legends. He saw fear as respect and believed his sheer size and the number of men at his back made him invincible. He was a big fish in a small bloody pond, and he was about to make the biggest mistake of his life. Their paths crossed in the sun-bleached town of Redemption, a fitting name for a place about to witness a reckoning. Silas was passing through, minding his own business, enjoying a rare moment of peace with a cup of coffee at the town's only hotel. He was just another quiet stranger to the townsfolk. But Black Bart and his gang rode into town like a storm of dust and arrogance. They kicked open the saloon doors, harassed the locals, and drank the place dry, their laughter grating on the tense silence of the afternoon. Bart, full of cheap whiskey and self-importance, stumbled out of the saloon. He saw Silas sitting calmly on the hotel porch. In his drunken haze, Bart saw not a deadly predator, but an easy target for his cruelty. He swaggered over, his men snickering behind him. "Well, look what we have here," Bart boomed, his voice dripping with menace. "A quiet little mouse. Don't you know who I am? I'm Black Bart Hogan, and this town belongs to me." Silas didn't move. He simply raised his eyes from his coffee cup, his gaze as cold and hard as steel. That single, unimpressed look was enough to infuriate Bart. He wanted fear. He demanded it. "I'm talking to you," Bart roared, kicking the small table and sending the coffee cup shattering on the wooden planks. "When Black Bart speaks, you listen." Silas slowly rose to his feet. He wasn't a large man like Bart, but an aura of pure, unadulterated danger radiated from him. The air grew thick. The cheerful sounds of the town died away, replaced by a deafening silence. The townsfolk, who had been hiding in their shops, now peeked out, sensing that a defining moment was upon them. "Pick it up," Silas said, his voice low and devoid of emotion, yet it carried across the street with terrifying clarity. Bart laughed, a harsh, ugly sound. "Pick it up? You're giving me orders? My boys and I are going to teach you some manners." He reached for his gun, a sloppy, overconfident move. It was a mistake he wouldn't have time to regret. Before Bart's fingers even touched the handle of his pistol, there was a blur of motion. Silas's hand moved like a striking snake. A single shot rang out, impossibly fast. It wasn't loud or thunderous, but sharp and final. Black Bart Hogan stood frozen for a second, a look of pure shock on his face, a small dark hole appearing right between his eyes. He collapsed backward into the dust, his reign of terror ending as quickly as it began. His gang, who had been laughing moments before, were now paralyzed with a fear they had never known. Their bravado evaporated, replaced by the primal urge to survive. They looked at their fallen leader, then at the silent figure standing on the porch. Silas's Colt was already back in its holster, a thin wisp of smoke curling from the barrel. He didn't even look at Bart's men. He simply turned, walked back into the hotel, and left them standing in the street with the body of their leader. They didn't dare follow. They scrambled onto their horses and rode out of Redemption as fast as they could, their legend shattered, their confidence gone. They had just witnessed the difference between a loudmouth bully and a true killer. The town of Redemption was quiet once more, but it was a different kind of quiet now, one of awe and respect. The name Silas Kane was no longer just a whispered rumor. It was a proven fact. He was the cold, efficient hand of fate in a lawless land, a man who proved that the most dangerous force in the West wasn't the loudest voice, but the deadliest silence. And for one overconfident bandit, that silence was eternal. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this tale from the wild frontier, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and ring the notification bell so you don't miss our next story. See you next time.